looking at a 177-meter home stretch. If you aren't perfectly positioned when you hit that mark, your V85 ticket is just dead.
It's brutal. It fundamentally alters the physics and, the geometry of every single race. When we dig into the consensus data for Mantorp, the numbers just paint a ruthless picture.
Yeah, what's the actual stat there?
It's roughly 74%. About 74% of the winners here come from the absolute front positions.
Wow, 74%. So you basically have to be up front.
Exactly. We are talking about the horse holding the lead, the horse sitting in the death position, right outside the leader, or sitting second on the outside. Yeah, and we've synthesized all the consensus data to find out exactly who gets trapped and who actually takes advantage.
So let's jump right into it and apply this directly to the first race, V85 1. We have this handicap duel that perfectly illustrates the track bias we just talked about.
Oh, absolutely. It's a textbook example.
Right. So we have the overwhelming favorite, Layuka, who is just an absolute monster in this class. I mean, she won her last outing by staying wide and basically physically overpowering the entire field. But she starts with a 20-meter handicap today.
Which is huge.
Yeah. And her primary challenger, MT Tomorrow's Hope, starts right on the front line. I mean, giving a horse that kind of head start on a short stretch track, isn't that like a marathon runner giving a sprinter a head start?
It really is, and the speed data shows us exactly why that 20-meter gap is so terrifying at Mantorp. It isn't just about making up the distance, it's about the rate of exertion required to do it in such a compressed time frame.
Right, because she has to run so much faster just to catch up.
Exactly.
To pass the field, Layuka is going to get pushed out into the third lane around the final turn. So the centrifugal force alone means she's running significantly more actual distance than the horse is hugging that inside rail.
Yeah, it's a massive physical exertion just to get back to even, and that's before the short stretch even begins.
So does that make her too risky?
Well, that intense physical exertion creates a massive blind spot for both of the favorites. Think about it. If MT Tomorrow's Hope and Layuka just lock horns early and completely incinerate their gas tanks trying to establish dominance, the math opens up a window for the rest of the field.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. The Skrell.
Exactly, the hidden long shot. The consensus data points heavily to selective calling as the ultimate Skrell in this scenario.
Selective calling. Why him?
Because he's the horse who will be sitting right in the slipstream, drafting off that aggressive pace. He's just waiting to pick up the pieces when those top two hit the wall.
That makes a lot of sense. So, moving on, if V85 1 is entirely dictated by the mathematics of a handicap, the next matchup, V85 2, basically turns that dynamic on its head because of the starting mechanics.
Right. We aren't dealing with a straight line mobile start anymore.
No, we are dealing with the complex geometry of the vaulting start here. The favorite is Showtime's On, drawing track 6.
And track 6 is known as the spring spore, or the spring track. It's a massive biomechanical advantage in a vaulting start. And, the driver sitting behind Showtime's On today is Dwight Peters.
And he's practically a master at this.
He really is. His timing from that specific position is just devastating. Historically, Peters hits the lead an incredible 38% of the time when he starts from the spring track.
Wow, 38%.
Yeah. So when you combine his spatial awareness with Showtime's On's explosive initial step, and then apply that to Mantorp's 177-meter stretch, it creates a terrifying scenario for everyone else. If he secures the front, the consensus across all our sources is that this is essentially Spets Ox, Slut-Led, and finish. Game over.
But, the vaulting start is incredibly sensitive to human error, isn't it? If Peters misses his timing by even a fraction of a second, the race completely fractures.
Oh, for sure. It's high risk, high reward.
And if he misses it, the immediate challengers stepping into that void are Global Good Enough, who gets to save ground on a great inner track, and Masters Dunder Beta, though Dunder Beta is fighting that same 20-meter handicap we just saw in the first race.
Right, which is tough. But if we dig deeper into the data, there is a really fascinating long shot buried in there. Cornelia Palema.
Oh, yeah. The whim change, right?
Exactly. The trainer is stripping all 4 shoes off for the very first time.
The famous barefoot effect. I know we talk about this a lot. And we also have Mayday in this race. Her siblings have won millions, so the genetic ceiling is sky high, and she is being driven by Carl Johan Jepsen. He's a highly tactical, opportunistic driver who just thrives when heavy favorites make mistakes.
Definitely a dangerous combo. So moving into V85-3, we find a scenario that actually tests our core assumption about Mantorp.
Okay, how so?
Well, we have Nilla Lane, a horse who has won 13 out of 15 times when she secures the lead, and she is lightning fast out of the gate.
Wait, hold on. Her entire strategy relies on taking the lead, and we literally just established that Mantorp mathematically rewards the horse in the lead. So why is our consensus data screaming that she's a trap? Every source we have is waving a massive red flag against singling her on a ticket.
It seems counterintuitive, right? But it comes down to the visual evidence from her last start. Yes, she won from the lead, but her stride began to shorten dramatically in the final 50 meters.
So she was laboring late.
Exactly. She looked exhausted. And when a frontrunner shows that kind of vulnerability, the psychology of the race shifts entirely. The drivers behind her aren't just going to sit back and wait. They will attack early to test her stamina.
They smell blood in the water.
They really do. And the sources highlight two massive challengers primed to do exactly that: Currency Artist and V85 June.
Currency Artist is particularly interesting to me because of a crucial gear change. The trainer is switching him to a Norwegian blinders setup, which completely alters his psychological profile.
It's a fascinating adjustment.
It's basically a nitrous button, but you can only press it once. You better hope you press it at the exact right time for that 177 meters.
Exactly. And we also really can't ignore the ultimate Skrell in this race: Godfather. He recently returned from racing in France, and the environmental conditioning over there is totally different.
Oh, right. Because tracks in France, like Vincennes, feature deep cinders and these grueling uphill climbs, right? Compared to the flat, fast Swedish tracks, that resistance training must build a bottomless well of stamina.
It absolutely does. And that stamina conversation is actually the perfect bridge into V85-4, because the slate completely changes the distance variable here.
Yes, we are moving from sprints to a grueling 2640-meter marathon. This is basically the clash of the titans today. On one side, we have Before Takeoff, the highly tactical favorite who desperately wants to dictate the pace.
And on the other side, we have Barack Face, a returning superstar with just overwhelming raw talent.
But there's a catch with Barack Face, isn't there? He isn't dressed like a superstar today. The intelligence notes show he is running with regular shoes and a standard, heavier training car.
Which is a massive neon warning signal.
Right, because in the modern era of marginal gains, where everyone is optimizing with bare feet and aerodynamic America bikes, running in heavy gear has to mean something specific.
It means the trainer is using this race for conditioning. Dragging a heavier sulky acts as resistance training to build lung capacity, and racing with shoes protects the hooves from concussion. The trainer is building a base for bigger races later in the summer.
So he might simply lack the race day fitness to beat a highly motivated field over 2.6 kilometers.
Exactly. He might just not be sharp enough yet.
Which completely flips the script for a horse like Makahan, who is practically built for this exact scenario. If Before Takeoff and Barack Face get locked in this massive ego-driven battle early on, Makahan is the one who benefits.
Yeah, Makahan has the biomechanical profile of a diesel engine. He doesn't really have that explosive acceleration, but his top speed simply does not degrade over 2,640 meters.
So if the favorites hit the wall at the 2-kilometer mark, Makahan is the one who will just keep grinding past them. I love that setup.
Oh, it gets better, because from that grueling marathon, the slate drops us right back into a chaotic sprint.
Right. V85-5 is just 1,640 meters. And the heavy favorite here is Crow Motion, a horse whose entire profile is built around a blistering finishing speed. He's a pure closer.
Which, as we've established, is a deeply flawed dynamic at Mantorp.
I mean, relying on a closer at Mantorp seems insanely risky. To win from the back of the pack on a 177-meter stretch, you are entirely dependent on the drivers in front of you making a mistake. You need them to set a suicidal pace so they fall apart, and then you need a perfectly clean path through traffic while you're running at full speed. It's literally threading a needle at 50 kilometers per hour.
It's an incredibly fragile strategy for a heavy favorite, yet the consensus still really respects him because that suicidal pace war is almost guaranteed to materialize.
Why is it guaranteed?
Well, look at the lineup. You have DeChambeau, who absolutely demands the lead. Then you have the Italian horse, Gimbo Griff, who races with a notoriously aggressive, high-tempo Italian drive-nail style.
Oh, man. So they're going to push each other.
Yeah, and throw in Ace Wib attacking from the extreme outside.
No.
The early fractions are going to be absurdly fast. They are going to cook their own engines.
And when the front runners collapse, the closers sweep by. But if Crow Motion gets blocked in all that chaotic traffic, the sources highlight the Flying Eagle to take advantage. And for the listener who loves a true lottery ticket, there is a low percentage long shot sitting at barely 1% in the data. Phantom Lesl Sol.
The ultimate sleeper.
Exactly. If the pace war turns into a complete meltdown, he is the horse flying completely under the radar to steal it at the very end.
Okay, so we've been talking heavily about race flow being dictated by the track geometry or the distance, right? Let's shift to a horse who dictates his own flow regardless of the environment.
Yes, let's talk about V85-6. This race features the biggest consensus banker of the entire day, Illuminato. He is essentially undefeated as long as he maintains his trotting stride.
And his pedigree explains exactly why he's such a phenomenon. We are looking at absolute royal bloodlines here.
Yeah, his sire is the legendary Ready Cash, and his mother is the full sister to Going Kronos. That is royalty.
In practical terms, that genetic lineage means he possesses a superior lung capacity and a much higher density of fast-twitch muscle fibers than anything else in this field.
So he's just built differently.
Literally, yes. Genetically, this horse has a physiological ceiling that the rest of this lower class simply cannot match. He's a legitimate Derby hopeful who is just stepping down in competition today.
But in racing, an unblemished record is also just a target on your back. For the paranoid listener, if Illuminato loses his rhythm and makes a mistake, who takes it? The data points squarely at Montanaro as the backup plan.
Montanaro is a great pick. He fits that classic trapped energy profile.
Right, because in his last start, he got completely boxed in behind a wall of tired horses. He crossed the finish line with a low heart rate and just massive amounts of unspent kinetic energy.
He basically didn't even have a hard race. He had a paid workout. And because of that, he is sitting on a massive performance today.
Speaking of unblemished records, we find another undefeated horse in V85-7, Global Evolution. He is perfect when he trots flawlessly. But looking closely at the consensus data, the analysts are actively hunting for wigs to beat him.
Yeah, there is a massive desire across the sources to bet against his streak today.
And that skepticism comes from a brutal convergence of variables, right? Global Evolution has drawn track 7, which is a wide starting position, and he is facing a remarkably deep field over the taxing 2,640-meter distance.
Exactly. The geometry of starting from track 7 over a long distance forces a driver into a terrible choice.
What are the options?
Well, you either spend massive amounts of early energy sprinting to clear the pack and get the lead, or you get parked on the outside, taking all that extra wind resistance and literally running further than the rest of the field for over 2 kilometers.
So his margin for error is absolutely zero.
Precisely. Meanwhile, Satisfaction has the perfect inside track to save ground, get a great trip, and conserve energy.
But the real standout causing a buzz across all our sources is Mr. Momo. He completely transformed in his last start when the trainer took his shoes off for the first time. We just talked about how reducing that pendulum weight alters stride frequency, and for Mr. Momo, it unlocked a gear he simply didn't have before.
It resulted in a crushing victory, and he is keeping the shoes off today, which makes him incredibly dangerous.
There is also a massive warning signal regarding Great Ruler in this race. He is heavily underbet relative to his elite pedigree, and just like Mr. Momo, he is going barefoot all around.
It's the ultimate combination, right? Hidden class and optimized biomechanics just flying under the public's radar.
Okay, so all of these variables, class, conditioning equipment, and track geometry, they all collide in the grand finale. V85-8 is the Ina Scott's era for 4-year-old mares. This race is a foundational handicapping puzzle.
It really is. It's raw, proven class versus current, razor-sharp form.
Representing the raw class, we have Mojara Teresa Sisu. She won the Massive Oaks race last year, proving she was the biomechanical superior of her entire generation.
She's incredible, but she hasn't raced in 8 months, and she is running with shoes on today. So she clearly has the latent talent, but she lacks that hardened race day fitness right now.
Contrasting her is the form horse, Cobra Brick. Now, she drew a terrible starting position way out on track 8. However, she already has 2 grueling races under her belt this season.
So she's in peak physical condition. Plus, she's running barefoot, and she is basically built like a tank. She has the physical constitution required to absorb the punishment of racing on the outside in the wind and still grind down the leaders.
It's the rusty champion versus the battle-hardened challenger. I love it.
Me too. And if those 2 giants neutralize each other in a war of attrition, the Skrellers are waiting. Ursula possesses electric early speed and could easily steal the lead, hoping that short Mantorp stretch protects her.
And then there is Jacqueline Zet. She has those royal bloodlines we look for. She's the sister to the great Francesco Zet, and she is entering this race at the absolute peak of her form cycle.
It's going to be a phenomenal finale.
It really is. Enjoy the slate, keep diving deep into the data, and we will catch you next time.